A golden-haired queen bee shoves a quiet black girl in the middle of the school courtyard, cameras rolling, her voice slicing the air. "What, you gonna cry?" But the girl doesn't flinch. She moves, fast, precise, dangerous, and within seconds, the bully is sprawled on the concrete, gasping for breath. Then her jock boyfriend rushes in, and he drops even harder. Phones are out, mouths are open. No one dares speak. But what happened next will shock even those who thought they'd seen everything. But first, let's go back to the beginning. Observational. The school bus hissed to a stop, its doors unfolding like jaws. Brooklyn James stepped down, her sneakers hitting cracked pavement as if marking the beginning of something no one yet understood. The morning air clung to her like judgment, thick with the scent of exhaust, overripe perfume, and eyes. Too many eyes. She didn't flinch, didn't scan the crowd. Her gaze was low, fixed on the chipped concrete path ahead, her fingers clenched around the fraying straps of her backpack. Southridge High loomed before her, 3 stories of glass, metal, and silent codes. Hallways flowed with polished sneakers, cheerleader ponytails, Bluetooth beats leaking from pockets. And amid that motion, Brooklyn moved differently, slower, deliberate, like someone trained to study exits before settling in. Her skin was a deep onyx that caught the sunlight like oil, her hair a tight halo of coils she didn't bother to tame. Her jeans were clean but faded, her hoodie unbranded, no mascara, no lip gloss. Just presence, unapologetic and still. It was enough. Taylor Monroe noticed her before Brooklyn even reached the front doors. Taylor's world was built like a pyramid, tight, tall, and with her at the top. Captain of volleyball, junior prom committee, homecoming court. Her gaze swept the parking lot like a drone scanning for insurgents. She saw the way a few boys blinked at the new girl longer than usual, saw the girl with lavender nails nudge her friend and whisper behind her palm. That was all it took. "She thinks she's something," Taylor murmured, the syllables razor-thin. "Let's fix that." Brooklyn didn't hear it, but she felt it, the shift, the moment the air thickened behind her. That first day, she got a look over in nearly every classroom. Some were curious, some hostile, but no one spoke. She didn't care. At lunch, she found an empty table in the corner, ate her sandwich in silence, and stared through the cafeteria window like she was somewhere else entirely. It wasn't detachment. It was survival. She'd worn that look before, in neighborhoods where eye contact could mean confrontation, and silence was armor. But Southridge was different. Or so she hoped. By Wednesday, the first accident happened. A foot stuck out as she passed a stairwell. Her body hit the linoleum hard. Laughter followed, echoing off lockers. Later, she opened her locker to a burst of sticky sweetness. A chocolate milkshake upended over her books, dripping like blood from a wound. She stood there, frozen. Not because she was shocked, but because she'd seen it coming. Brooklyn knew this wasn't about her. Not really. It was about the fear behind the smirks, about girls like Taylor needing the world to stay in its place. And Brooklyn, just by being, had shifted something. So she wiped the chocolate from her math book with the inside of her sleeve, blinked once, and walked to class. Not a word spoken. But a warning had been delivered, and ignored. There was a rhythm to Taylor's cruelty, an almost musical cadence to her daily jabs, whispers sharpened into daggers, timed smirks, and the heavy silence of complicity from the rest of the class. She didn't strike hard. She struck precisely, with the casual cruelty of someone who knew she'd never be held accountable. And Brooklyn, always silent, always composed, became the canvas for Taylor's performance. "You're so quiet," Taylor said one morning, loud enough to turn heads. "Oh, wait. Do you even speak English, Brooklyn?" Her words dropped into the classroom like acid on glass. Silent at first, then cracking everything. The laughter that followed wasn't loud. It was worse. Low. Conspiratorial. The kind that came with darted glances and smug approval. Even the teacher, too used to Taylor's presence, pretended not to hear. Brooklyn didn't flinch. Her pencil kept moving, her handwriting sharp and tight like her jawline. But inside she felt something lurch. They didn't know. They had no idea what she was holding back. Back in Detroit, silence wasn't an act. It was strategy. You moved smart. You learned quick. You didn't bluff because everyone around you could smell it. Brooklyn hadn't survived 3 years in the 8th Precinct by mouthing off or throwing weak punches. Her brothers, Jamal and Rico, had made sure of that. "You don't get to lose your cool," Rico once told her, hands taped, breath steaming in the winter air as he held the heavy bag. "You lose your cool, you lose your teeth." Brooklyn had taken that lesson deep. When her mother packed up their lives and moved them out of Detroit, she made Brooklyn promise just one thing. No fights, no cops, no more getting pulled into things that leave scars. It was supposed to be a clean slate, a new place, a nicer school. But Brooklyn had quickly learned that cruelty wore different colors in the suburbs. It came with lip gloss and student council badges. It smiled for yearbook photos. And every day she was swallowing poison. After gym class on a gray Thursday, Taylor cornered her just outside the back exit. The metal door clanged shut behind them. Concrete. Chain-link fence. No audience, just Taylor, 2 inches taller, mouth curved in a mockery of sweetness. "What's wrong?" she whispered, leaning in. "Forgot your little street weapons? Or maybe you're scared without your little gang?" Brooklyn didn't answer. Not with words. She looked up. Slowly. Taylor froze mid-sneer. What she saw in Brooklyn's eyes wasn't rage or even fear. It was control. Cold. Measuring. A switch not flipped but hovered over, like a hand resting near the fire, waiting for the right moment to burn. Brooklyn turned and walked away. But the crack had formed, and the pressure behind it was building. The courtyard was a stage, broad and sunlit, buzzing with laughter and careless conversation. Students clustered like flocks, each orbiting their social planets. Athletes near the benches, art kids against the fence, drama kids always pretending not to be watching. It was 5th period. Warm, restless. Something in the air felt taut, like the sky itself was holding its breath. Taylor Monroe stood dead center, phone in hand, her screen already recording. Her smile wasn't friendly. It was calculated, poised for virality. She sauntered toward Brooklyn, whose back was turned, who was sitting alone on the brick planter's edge, quietly eating an apple, headphones in. Taylor ripped one bud from Brooklyn's ear. "Hey, street rat," she said, voice sugary and venom-laced. "Don't think I forgot how you looked at me last week. You think you're scary?" Brooklyn didn't respond. That only fueled Taylor. "Trash like you doesn't belong here," she barked, glancing at the small crowd forming. Freshmen, sophomores, a few upperclassmen who knew a show when they saw one. "What, you gonna cry?" Brooklyn stood. Not fast, not slow, just deliberately. She set the apple down. Taylor raised her phone higher. The shove came next, hard, sudden from both hands. Brooklyn stumbled a step back, sneakers grinding on the concrete. Gasps sparked through the crowd like the first popping kernels in a pan. Brooklyn straightened. Her breathing was shallow. Her eyes locked onto Taylor's. Then she moved. 3 steps forward. Fluid, no wasted motion. A sharp pivot on her left foot. Her right elbow snapped forward like a piston. Crack. Taylor hit the ground before the phone left her hand. It skidded across the pavement. The courtyard froze. For a heartbeat, there was nothing but wind and silence. Then, Brad. Brad Connolly, varsity linebacker, Taylor's boyfriend, ego as bloated as his biceps. He didn't ask questions, just came charging across the quad, fists clenched, shouting something about teaching her respect. Brooklyn didn't wait. She dropped low as he neared, legs coiling like springs. One pivot, a sweep. His feet left the ground. Thud. His back met concrete with a sound that sucked the breath from the bystanders. He groaned, not in pain, but in disbelief. Phones were everywhere now. Every angle, every frame. Wide eyes, slack jaws. And Brooklyn? She didn't smirk, didn't posture, just leaned down, picked up her bag, slung it over one shoulder like a soldier heading home. Her voice cut clean through the silence. "Next time," she said, "think before you pick a fight with someone who trained for war." Then she walked away. No fanfare, just fire trailing in her wake. By sunrise, the video had already crossed school lines, leapt into group chats, splashed onto TikTok feeds, and was chewing its way through the internet like wildfire with a purpose. No filters, no edits, just raw footage, a sleek elbow dropping a queen bee to concrete, a linebacker felled like a tree, and a girl with fire in her eyes walking away without a word. The caption was simple, surgical. Detroit girl KO's rich bully, Hatch real one. Southridge High, once a place where Brooklyn drifted like a ghost, now buzzed with energy the moment she walked through the doors. The hallways parted slightly, unconsciously. Not out of fear, but recognition. Heads nodded, eyes tracked her. And those who used to whisper behind cupped hands now looked away, suddenly remembering something urgent in their lockers. Taylor's reign dissolved overnight. Her clique, once synchronized like a dance team, fractured into awkward pairs and solo stragglers. No one said it aloud, but her silence screamed the truth. She'd lost. And Brooklyn? She was summoned to the principal's office by second period. She walked in calm. No slump, no swagger. Just steady. Principal Myers glanced at her over thin glasses. The counselor was there too. So was a dean. Brooklyn sat down, prepared for the worst. Detention, suspension, maybe even police. But what followed was different. "We've reviewed the footage," Myers said. "We've spoken with over a dozen students." Pause. "You didn't initiate anything." Brooklyn blinked. "You won't be punished," the counselor added. "And for what it's worth, I'm sorry no one stepped in sooner." It didn't feel like victory. It felt like release, like something heavy in her chest had been dislodged and was beginning to crumble. In the cafeteria, the tables weren't empty anymore. Girls she didn't know slid in beside her, offering fries and open smiles. One of them said, "I saw that video. You're a legend." Brooklyn didn't correct her. At gym, the wrestling coach walked up to her like he was sizing up steel. "You ever think about competing?" he asked, voice low, respectful. She gave a small shake of her head. "I think you'd be damn good." But what mattered most, more than the nods, the shift in the air, the open space around her, was that Brooklyn had kept her word. No fists raised without reason, no chaos sparked from impulse. She hadn't broken her promise. She'd honored it. And Taylor? She never made eye contact again. Not once. Not in class, not in the halls, not at practice. It wasn't fear in her avoidance. It was understanding. Brooklyn wasn't just quiet. She was measured. Brooklyn wasn't soft. She was disciplined. And some girls? Some girls come from streets that sharpen you until silence becomes a blade. Brooklyn was one of those girls, and now everyone knew it.